Speaking of building football teams, a lot of guys who are at camp who showed up. We've been seeing a lot of scuffles, a lot of fights with joint practices. Obviously, players, you've been around the game a long time. You've seen it a while. Memo was sent out, I believe, by the NFL last month to the teams about potentially fining them, and now they have fined both organizations $200,000. What's your thoughts on these fines going out to the Giants and Lions?
I mean, I think the only way you get people's attention is through coin. You got to find people. Look, this is ridiculous. You can't have fights. You're not getting anywhere. I mean, you realize how either one of those players could have got injured? I mean, you're throwing punches at guys with helmets on. How ridiculous is that? You can break a hand in an instant. I think it's probably the right thing to do. We don't want to see the fights. We want to work on being a professional. Being a professional is, look, we know football is a violent sport. We know there's a lot of hostility that goes in there. But part of understanding this is having poise. Part of understanding in the heat of battle, you have to control yourself. You can't have a penalty at the most critical time. And when you do stuff like this just lends itself to having a dumb penalty. You know, it's like Parcells used to say, we're too dumb to be any good. When we do stuff like that, that's not worth it. And I think the league's right to fine people. I really do.
Lombo, my biggest issue with that, and I appreciate the fact the NFL is trying to get ahead of it because we've seen this over the past few years with the evolution of how many joint practices are taking place around the NFL. It seems like everybody's doing it now, where back in the day there was only a couple teams that were doing it. But we all know that are on this call, like, these coaches love this. In some positions, like some guys, they're questioning whether or not they're tough or whatever. Like, will this guy be able to handle being in the NFL? Is he a dog? That's the type of guy I want. So whenever there's an opportunity for another team to potentially have a fight happen, players are going to take that opportunity, I think, every once in a while, especially at the bottom half of the roster. I understand composure and everything. That's a real game. These are practice situations. Everybody kind of understands it. I don't know how you fix it. I know, like, the finding of the teams is certainly the start here for the NFL, but it's a tough sell, I think, for some guys, especially in the dog days of training camp, like, to not. I think it's going to be tough because own teams fight each other. So let alone with other, like, yeah. I think it's going to be tough, Lombo. And I understand we're trying to make
it is, but you got to emphasize
so we can evaluate and everything.
Yeah, like that's uncalled for. That cheap shot's uncalled for. You got to have poise. And to me, you know, once a player does that, get him off the field. Just send him off the field. If you're going to act like this and react like that and push somebody like that, that's a 15-yard penalty. You know, you're going to cost your team. You can't be that way. We got that. Look, you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. I get what you're saying. People are going to be volatile. People are going to be emotional. Young players want to show they're tough enough. But show you're tough enough when between the whistle.
I guess.
Amen. In theory, that sounds good, I think. That's what I'm saying. We're all agreeing that in theory that sounds good. I don't know how actionable it is, though. AJ, that's like
how come is that fight there? Look, both guys are swinging.
Stupid.
Oh yeah, they better have open fit. They better tell them, hey, it better be open.
Stupid thing
palm
of all
strikes.
time. I mean,
if you are going to fight,
team.
palm strike them, Lombo. If you are going to fight, don't be throwing those closed fist punches to that hard helmet. But I guess the Guardian Cap may help with that. Who knows? But do you think Lombo? It's just the fact that we just these fights kept happening. We just all of a sudden you open your phone up, boom, here's another fight. Oh, it's the same day. Oh, the next day they keep fighting. Is that why the $200K came down? I would imagine other teams, if they get one little scuffle, they're not fining them $200K.
Well, I think the league basically said, since you guys can't handle it, I have to. It's kind of like, you know, you guys aren't going to handle it, we'll handle it. And I think that's what the league did. And so now that $200K, I mean, look, you know, that might seem like not a lot of money to $1 billion industry, but I'm sure it does affect them. And it comes down on the head coaches. Like, I think, to me, it's their job to ensure that this doesn't happen. And I know that it's not they're coaching it. They're asking their teams not to do it, but there's got to be a way to get around it. I mean, you got to have discipline and you got to have self-control. Two of the biggest requirements to be a good team.
I agree completely, and I appreciate that the NFL is looking out, because I think a part of it is like player safety as well. Because to all of our points, like, somebody breaks a hand there, what do we even? You just cost yourself an opportunity at, like, potential life-changing career. But then I just think there's going to have to be a conversation amongst the entire league and practices about it, because I think that is just a recipe for a fight at some point, every one of those joint practices. But this younger generation is much more well-rounded and not as archaic, I guess, as the teams that I was part of, you know, which hopefully is the case. Hopefully.